Good morning, and welcome to Mystical Teachings from the Tanya. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We say good morning, a good vach, a shavua tov, a good week to everybody. Cindy from Florida, Deborah, good morning. Clem from Brisbane, where it is 1:30 in the morning. And in Australia, for TJ, it is, I think, 12:30 in the morning. Simcha, good morning to you in Florida, where it's the morning. Powix, I hope I got that right, from the Philippines. Welcome. Nasido, welcome. And Pedro from Vineland, and New Jersey, good morning. Denise and Linda, welcome from New York. And from the Netherlands, we have Linda with us. Welcome. Fremad from Plano, Texas. Good tavoch. Michelle. Chanukah to all. John, North Carolina, good morning. Luz from Florida, good morning. And from Colorado, we have Ilona. Boker Tov. Okay. Looks like a lot of people didn't sign in yet. Maxine from Phoenix, Arizona, shalom. And all right. Wonderful. We begin chapter 4. Chapter 4. Let us get a rundown of the previous chapter. Chapter 1, in one word, is nishamas. In one word, it brought out the idea souls. We have two souls. And then chapter 2 starts with the godly soul. And explaining the godly soul, the essence of it, that the essence of the soul is a chelik, is a part. It's a part of God, literally, not figuratively, literally a part of God. Everything in creation is created through the word, the speech of God, but the divine soul is literally a part of God, and as we went into great explanation. The third chapter then was of the makeup of the soul. What's the soul made up of? Well, since it's a part of God, so then it's God, the qualities that are of God. And what are those qualities? The makeup of the soul is 10 powers. 10 powers of the soul, because there are 10 divine attributes. I see Rena saying the audio isn't working well. Anybody else having that problem? I think it might be your audio, Rena, because I know I put mine on full blast. Anybody else have a problem with audio? Rena, go in and go back out. Go out and go back in. Okay? In the meantime, Daria from Russia, welcome. Rena from Colorado. Katie from Texas. Aaron from Panama. Audio's good. Okay. Great. So, the 10 powers of the soul are divided into two, what we call mothers and offspring, and doubles. The mothers are the intelligence, Chabad, Chachma Bina V'das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, or better yet, should be translated as a inspiration, cognition, information, and then meditation or connection. And then we have the emotions that it produces. The offspring are emotions. That's what intelligence is meant for. To create from the head, to filter down through the neck where it narrows, and come into the heart and produce the love and awe of God. So that was chapter 3. And in one word, Esser, 10 powers of the soul, because it's a part of God, just as God has 10 divine attributes. Now we go into chapter 4. We begin today, the basis of it. We will see there's a great novel idea that will come out, and it'll be in tomorrow's class. Chapter 4 in one word is lavushim, garments. It's the clothes that make the man. The garments make the person. Is the concept of this chapter, but we will get there slowly. So what are garments? Garments come on and off easily. Come on and off easily. What are they in reference to? Garments of the soul. They come on and off easily, and they're the express. Why do we wear clothes? For one aspect, at least, is because it beautifies us. It gives us, it protects us, but it beautifies the person. So likewise over here, the garments that come on and off are thought, speech, and action. Why do they come on and off? Because I could choose my thoughts, I could say what I want to say, and I could choose my actions. So I can act this way, and then another way. So I put on the garment of kindness, meaning I express kindness by saying something nice to you. But then I can put on a different expression of that kindness and express it or think it differently. Right? So that's why it's a garment. As opposed to feelings, can you just take away feelings? I had an instance yesterday that someone had a neighbor that true story. Someone had a neighbor that someone attempted a murder, and this person was very distraught. I actually don't even know the neighbor, but just the fact that it's, you feel a sense of being violated, and you know, when something like that happens, even though it didn't happen to you, happens to your neighbor. Yeah, it just, and your emotions, can be really rocked. And for this person, it was very difficult for them, emotionally, because the emotions, you can't, it's not like a garment. You could put this one on, put another one on, put this shirt on, put that shirt on. That's your thought, speech, and action. But your feelings, they don't change so simply. That is a distinction over here that we're talking about. In chapter 3, we're speaking about intelligence and emotions. Those things don't get moved so easily. Don't change very, very slowly. But our thought, speech, and action, as we will learn, that, well, we have much greater control of them. And the truth is, and that's what Tanya is really a large part, will deal with. But, okay, so what does this mean, garments of the soul, of the divine soul? So it means that your thought, speech, and action will find expression in 613 commandments of the Torah. In other words, when a person is involved, engaged in fulfilling a mitzvah, a physical act of doing the mitzvah, putting on the tefillin, lighting the Shabbos candles, and the like, right? So when you're doing it, you're doing an action. You're doing also a speech because you're saying a prayer together with it, for example. And when you're learning the law that governs that mitzvah, then you are using your thoughts, right? And when you're learning the law that governs that particular mitzvah, that thought of that mitzvah is on many different levels, because it's understanding the simple meaning of the mitzvah. There is the hinted, the homiletic, the secrets, the hidden mystical dimension, and so on and so forth, which is what we call Pardes, a orchard of levels, 4 levels of understanding the Torah. So then, all 600 parts of your soul are clothed now with a garment of the 613 commandments. Because you do the commandment in action, You express it in words when you're fulfilling, a blessing or whatever. And then there's the understanding, which is your thoughts. So you have 613 commandments. The reason why we have that is because our soul is made up of 613 parts. And each one of our soul, parts of our organs, so to speak, of the soul, parts of the soul, are, for lack of a better word, naked until we put a garment on. And what's the garment? The thought, the speech, and the action that is connected to that mitzvah that now gives us a clothing of that particular mitzvah. Just as the body has 248 organs, there are 365 sinews of the body, right? So likewise, there's 613 commandments. Each of the 613 parts of the soul then become a vehicle that they can have a garment of light that is now clothing that part of the soul. Clothing that part of the soul with that particular mitzvah that you are fulfilling. How are you fulfilling it? Through thought, speech, and action. Let's go into greater detail into this idea. So the Chabad of the soul, which means your intellectual faculties, right? So we have intelligence, but that doesn't mean we garb ourselves with the intelligence that we have. I just want to make a distinction over here between intelligence and thinking. You can have a very high IQ and constantly be playing childlike games, because your great IQ and great intelligence doesn't mean it is being garbed with a thought of intelligence. It may be garbed with a thought of meaningless activity, right? Numbing the brain, watching another show. So you're thinking, you're not, and you've got great intelligence, but you're not expressing that intelligence. You're not garbing, you're not clothing yourself with the thought of the divine soul's intelligence. So just to make sure we understand the distinction between intelligence and thinking. Now, intelligence is a potential that we have, but it needs to then be garbed in thought of Torah. And, based on the uniqueness of your soul, will be where you're kind of more attentive to or more inclined to study. So many of you here your soul is kind of more of got a deeper mystical bent to it. So therefore that's why you're here. Others, maybe, they don't find it fulfilling learning this, even though it's something that we all need to learn at Tanya. But they don't find it as fulfilling as learning a verse in Torah with a Rashi and a simple understanding. So their soul is more attuned to the simple meaning, straightforward meaning of the Torah, right? But the soul nonetheless needs to be clothed with all dimensions. So, it's interesting. The metaphor just came to me. You wear underclothing, then you wear a shirt, then you have a jacket, and then, on a cold day outside, you're wearing a coat too. 4 layers of garments. Why 4 layers? Because there's 4 layers of Torah, understanding of the pardes. And therefore, each layer that you understand is another garment that you give to the soul. It just came to me. I hope that brings some clarity. Now, so the soul doesn't just have intelligence, it also has emotions. The emotions are, the basic emotions are love and fear of God, right? Well, they also need to be expressed in the garments of the soul, which are speech and action, right? The intelligence needs to be expressed in thought, that we think the words of Torah. We comprehend in our minds the words of Torah of what we're doing right now. So then your intelligence is now clothed by the fact that you're thinking and understanding the words of Torah. That's your intelligence. The other part of the soul that needs a garment is your emotions. So the emotions also need to be garbed, and that will be through speech and action. So what does that mean? It means if I have a love and a sense of awe of God, so I'm standing at the Grand Canyon and I'm so awed by God's nature that he creates, and I think about, the awesomeness of the experience and the presence of God and so on. That needs to express itself in speech and action. So it'll be in the observance of a mitzvah, of 248 positive commandments. That's what love brings you to. Love brings you to act in a kind way. So what it will bring you to do the 248 positive commandments. So that's an important idea over here, that if we are moved by love towards God, it needs to find expression. And of course, it needs to find expression in a way that attaches us with that love to God, and that will be through his commandments. So someone who truly wants to cleave and connect to God will do a commandment, one of the 248 commandments. Ultimately, all of them, right? And why the 248 commandments? Because they are like the organs of God. Organs means a part, just like the organs of a body are the part of me, right? So they are like, metaphorically, like the organs of God, meaning just like organs are a vehicle. Like my eye is organ, right? It's a vehicle for seeing. My ear is the organ for the vehicle for hearing. My hand is many organs actually, different parts, right? Are a vehicle for reaching out to another. So each mitzvah of God is a repository of divine light, of the will of God that it expresses, that is expressing a different manner of godliness. So then so that will be expressed in me fulfilling the will of God as it's expressed in my soul, 248 organs also of the soul. So by me fulfilling the will of God, which is expressed in these 248 positive precepts of doing something or saying something, right? That's how, whether it's a prayer or an action, then I truly cleave to God, because that part of me that is that part of me will truly cleave to that part of the divine light that I do through a garment that I provide for my soul of the will of God in the act of doing the mitzvah, whether it's the act of putting on tefillin, the act of lighting Shabbos candles, the act of reaching out and giving charity, the words of prayer. All that will then give me an attachment, a cleaving to God of the love that I have in my soul for him. So we're making a distinction. Love needs to find expression, just like you have a feeling of love to a loved one, to a child, to a parent, to a spouse, friend. So that feeling needs to find expression in words or actions that we understand. So that feeling of love towards God also needs to find expression what expression? So it'll be self-expression. No. Because to truly cleave to God means to cleave a part of me to that part of God which is expressed in his divine will. Because ultimately it's his divine will and how he wants us to cleave to him. It's like, you love somebody and you want to express that love by giving them something that you love. Well, maybe it's something you love and it's important to you, but that doesn't mean it's important to them. What do you want to express that love? It's something that's important to them. It's the same thing here. You want to express that love to God, so you got to do something that's important to him. And what's that? 248, as it were, organs of the king, of God, meaning parts of the divine that are an expression of his divine will, that actually expresses or connects to 248 parts of my divine soul, that through this word, action, or a speech or action, will now express and connect and cleave my soul to God. And likewise, the 365 negative commandments by refraining, because we have a sense of presence of God, and therefore a fear to do wrong, a sense of awe before God, and therefore we have a sense of refraining from doing something negative because it will bring a negative force into the divine order of things and into me. 365, as it were, prohibitions. So we don't want to rebel against God because we don't want to bring anything negative to the divine order or to my soul. Or to my soul. I don't want to do that. So now we understand clearly how love and awe, God, are related to the commandments. And how you have a love and awe towards God, it needs to find an expression in the commandments, in the expression of the soul, the expression of that love, that awe of God that needs to be expressed with a garment of self-expression, which is thought, speech, and action. Hope that was clear. Very powerful idea. So what comes out from this is really the only way to connect to God is on his terms, ultimately. It's just like any human connection. It's like the metaphor of the pauper won the hand of the maiden because he did something for the king. The king said, whoever will fulfill this impossible feat, and this pauper did. This simple farmer, and he gets the hand of this maiden from the king who knew only of royalty. And now she goes to his home, a little hut, and she offers a gift to her, a potato. And it's a metaphor, so remember to take it as a metaphor. And she starts to cry. She's of royalty. You offer a gift as a potato? A farmer, a simple person. That you got a potato today. Amazing. It's wonderful. But she cries because she's used to royalty. It's the same thing as the soul. It's used to royalty, connection to God. And you're offering it a potato because that's to you meaningful. To the pauper, that was meaningful. And it's not nothing against the pauper. It's just, the simple individual. Right? But you got to give a gift that's meaningful to the person you're giving the gift to. Right? So the same thing here. You want a connection. In other words, you want to connect a gift. Why are you giving a gift? To connect. So you're giving a gift to God? So you're giving him what you want? You're giving potatoes to God? That's not what he wants. He wants you to feel it. He wants your prayers being verbalized. He wants you to study Tanya, that you comprehend. That's what he wants. Haley, crying out of sadness, not happiness. Think about something that's meaningful to you, and then, your loved one gave you a potato. It's your birthday. And you got a potato. Let's be frank. Let's be honest. You're not going to be happy. You may not say anything just because you're a nice person, but inside you're going to be sad. He doesn't get me. He doesn't get me. So we do that with God. God, I'm giving you a potato because that's important to me. But that's not important to God. Give him what he wants. Well, he's got 248 organs, figuratively speaking, divine will that is of him that we can attach to. So give him. You want to attach? You have a feeling towards him? You have a love. That pauper who married this maiden had a love for her. Not that he didn't have a love. He wasn't trying to be mean. He didn't give up a potato because he was mean. He gave a potato because that's his world. And he only knows that world. So that's what he gave. That's what's important to him. Potato, I mean, that's unbelievable. But, of course, what do we really need to do? Is to know what that person really wants. What's important to that person if you want to attach yourself to them and to give them. Right? Get that. So we get that. So you want to create a stronger attachment because you're feeling now a moment of love. So give them what's important for them. You want to express your love of God. So give him what he wants. He's got 248 organs, as it were. Means organ is a repository of vitality. He has 248 repositories of vitality of light of God that will imbue our soul, that will allow our 248 organs of the soul to be bound up and attached to him. So each mitzvah is figuratively connected to a particular part of me. And that's why each mitzvah is important. So I can attach and be bound up my soul to him. That's levushim. That's the garments. It's the garments that make the man. The clothes that make the man, it's the garments that make the person. So we got to do the mitzvah of God. All right. All right, looking to see if I see any questions. I hope that was clear. Mindy has it right. Make latkes from those potatoes. It's Hanukkah. Very good. And then you're fulfilling a custom of the Jewish people of eating latkes on Hanukkah. All right, Diane, wonderful. A reminder, tonight I have a class at 6:30 that you're all welcome to join on. Actually, I think it's going to be on Hanukkah. Thank you, Deborah, for sharing. Reminder, folks, for those that I don't have your email. Please send it to me. Lori does want a potato for her birthday. All right. Maybe potato latkes, though. Folks, yes, a reminder, tonight, 6:30, it'll be on Chabad Zichron Facebook page and mine. But if you send me an email, then you get more information. So private message me your email. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zichron Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day. Av Freilich and Chanukah, and a good Tavach, Shavuot Tov, good week.